Hello everyone, this is Mr. Grogan, and what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be going over Unit 3, Lesson 4, Shapes and Randomization. All right, and this is basically this is the second assignment that you're going to be doing in the JavaScript portion of code.org. All right. In Lesson 3, we went over some of the basics, just how to use how the game lab works. All right. And also some basic shapes, in particular the ellipse and the rectangle blocks, as well as the fill color block. All right. The assignment on Unit 3, Lesson 3 was sections 6 through 9. All right. Lesson 4, the assignment is sections 2 through 11. All right. And there are a couple of things that are going on in this particular lesson. It is a relatively easy lesson, as a lot of the earlier lessons are. But there are some new codes that do get introduced. All right. And in particular, the background color, all right, which basically it does what it says it, what the name implies. What that does is that it gives a background color to your program. All right. And there's also the ellipse and the rectangle block, which we went over in the last lesson. All right. However, there are a couple of things that do get introduced in regards to the ellipse, which, by the way, is a fancier way of saying a circle or oval shape. And rect is short for rectangle, or it could be square. You'll notice that there's the X and Y coordinates, which I went over with you in lesson 3. All right. They also added a W and an H there. The W stands for width and the H stands for height. I will go over that with you in a little bit. There's also another new line of code that gets introduced called a random number code. I'm going to go over that a little bit later on in the video. All right. So what I'm going to do is there's a couple of sections that I'm going to be going over with you in particular. All right. And I'll quickly walk through the assignment with you as well. All right. Before I get started, there are 2 sections on here in lesson 4 that don't have anything that you need to actually do. Sections 8 and 12. All right. However, section 8 goes over, just kind of gives an overview of shapes and parameters. Okay. And they just, you do want to review that really quickly, while you're doing this assignment. All right. And section 12 just explains random numbers and how they work in a little bit more detail. I will get to that in a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to start on section 2 on lesson 4. All right. Before I get into section 2, I apologize here. Before I get into section 2, all right, of lesson 4, all right. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay here. It normally does not. Okay, sorry. Okay. Lesson 4. Sorry for the delay here. All right, there we go. Okay, so before we get into that, all right, the vocabulary that does get introduced here is a parameter. A parameter is an extra piece of information passed to a function to customize it for a specific need. All right, we will be getting into that in a little bit as well. All right, section 2. All right, section 2 particularly goes into the height and width, which I went over with you just about a minute or two ago. All right, what you're going to be doing here in section 2, and I'll go through this part here with you. All right, what you'll notice here is that you'll see once you run the program, you'll see a blue rectangle block here and a red rectangle block here. Okay, and you'll notice that the red one is shorter than the blue one. What you want to do is that you want this here to look like this over here. Notice that the red one is longer than the blue one. Okay, now to do this, what you want to do, I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. If you click on the show grid here, which is right down here, okay, you will notice that there is a that the blue block here, the blue rectangle block. All right. If you go over to the workspace, you'll see that there is a fill color blue. Okay. And right underneath that is the rectangle coordinates. Okay. Now notice that the 100, the first two numbers here, 100, and then there's another 100. Those are the X, Y coordinates. Okay. And to find that on here, if I bring the mouse right up here, you'll notice that it will, if you get right to the top left-hand corner there, that will show you the 100, the X coordinate 100, Y coordinate 100 there. Okay. Now you'll notice on this line of code right here, okay, you have the X, Y, the X coordinates right here. The Y coordinate is right here. All right. And you have the length, the width and the height. Okay. This is the width. The 100 here is this 100 represents the width. Okay. And the reason why it comes out as 100. All right. Notice if I start right here and I pull the mouse, drag the mouse right over to here. Okay. You'll notice that the X coordinate starts at 100 right over here. Just about. But if I bring the mouse right over here, the X coordinate is at 200. Okay. 100 plus 100 is 200. Okay. So that's why that's where the 100 comes from. All right. It's 100 from here to here. Okay. All right. So the height is 200. This is 200 here. Okay. If I go on the Y coordinates, if I go in the top right-hand corner, the Y coordinate is at 100. But if I bring the mouse all the way down to the bottom right-hand corner, the Y coordinate is 300. So it's 200 from here to here. Okay. So that's how that works. So when I go to the red one, okay, same thing. It starts out at 250. The X coordinate is 250. The Y coordinate is 100. Right there, like that. Okay. The width is 100 from here to here using the X coordinate. Okay. The X coordinate starts out at 250, but then when I bring the mouse over here, the X coordinate is about 350. Okay. The length or the height is 150. Okay. So if I go right here, the Y coordinate is at 100, but if I bring it down to the bottom right-hand corner, the Y coordinate is 250. So it's 150 from here to here. So what I need to do to make this bigger, or to make the red one longer than the blue one, all right, is all I have to do is just change this from 150 to 250. All right. Then I reset, run. There you go. All right. So the 250 right here, it starts out with the Y coordinate is at 100. If I bring the mouse down here, the Y coordinate is at 350. Okay. So it's from here to here is 250. Okay. And notice, and more importantly, that this red rectangle block here is longer than the blue one, as it is right here, which is what you want. Okay. And that's how that works. All right. When you're done, you just click on finish. You just go to the next section. All right. All right. And just to kind of quickly go through this next section, the next few sections with you. All right. Because, you can kind of do this on your own at this point. Section 3. All right. You see it's an ellipse. Okay. You have a green ellipse right here. Okay. Now what they want you to do is they want you to add another ellipse. Okay. And they want you to color it yellow, or orange, sorry. But they want the green one to be inside this orange one, okay? So the key thing is that you have to add another ellipse, add another fill color, all right? And you want to make sure that the orange ellipse is put up here, right on top of the green one, okay? So it's going to be like fill color, orange, and then you put an ellipse right underneath that, and then underneath that is going to be this fill color green and fill color ellipse. I mean, fill color green and ellipse, all right? Section 4, all right? Section 4 involves involves the background color, okay? Sections 4 and 5 involve background color, all right? Now, what you're going to do here is that you're going to run the code to see how the background works, and then you're going to change the background from yellow to orange, okay? Now, there's a little bit of a challenge in here. There's a purple square that's covered up by the background. Can you change the order of the code so you can see both the purple and blue squares? Okay, if you look at the code here, you'll notice that there's a couple of fill colors here. So, and there's actually 2 different rectangle blocks. You see one, but there's actually another one up here, all right? So you're gonna have to change the code around a little bit to view it, all right? And make sure that you change the background color from yellow to orange. You're gonna have to type in the word orange here, okay? Just make sure that you type it inside the quotes, all right? Okay, section 5. All right, section 5, again, that deals with background color. Okay, you have an ellipse here, and what you want to do is that you want to add a background color, and you make sure that you add it in before you put the background color up here on the first line. All right, and make sure that you change it to black. Okay, all right. So you just use the background color code for that. All right. Section 6. All right. Section 6 and 7. All right. When I've taught this in the past, a lot of people have had problems with section 6. All right. If you get stuck on this, okay, is what they want you to do. Okay, you have basically a background of looks like a blue sky with a sun right up here, and then there's supposed to be grass here, but it looks like the grass just ends halfway through. All right. Now you can if you look at the workspace, you'll notice that there's something wrong with the code. If you can't find it, all right, what you have to do is you have to debug the program and correct the errors of the grass extends all the way over here like it does right here. Okay. All right. You only have to change one number. Which parameter makes your rectangle wider? If you get stuck on this section, all right, I mean, it's relatively easy to do. You're just changing one number. But if you're not sure which number to change, just go to section 7 and the code, because section 7 involves the same thing, okay? What they put on section 7 on this lesson, all right, is it's the same concept, all right? Notice that the grass is all filled in here, but you have to change the code of this cloud, okay? But if you look at the cloud, I mean, if you look at the grass and how it's coded here, all right, you can figure out what number that you need to change over here inside this code on line 10 here. You can just go back and change it on section 6, okay? And then you just play around a little bit with the code here with line 14 to change the shape of the cloud, okay? And again, it's once you figure out section 6, section 7 should be pretty easy to do, all right? Section 8, as I mentioned before, all right, it involves it describes the parameters a little bit in a little bit more detail, okay? I kind of went over it a little bit with the in some of the earlier sections, but you may want to review that a little bit. All right. Before I get into sections 9 through 11, I'm going to quickly go into section 12. Section 12 is not technically part of the assignment, but you want to take a look at it anyways. Section 12 goes into the random number codes in a little more detail. Random number codes, what they do, okay? All right. Basically, it returns a random number in the closed range from the minimum to the maximum, okay? Like, in a way, it's a little bit like what we did with Google Sheets, all right? So what you want to do, okay? All right. So you're going to, a random number, all right, what it will involve, it'll have the words random number here. It'll be like this, okay? And then inside the parentheses, you're going to see two numbers. The first number will be the minimum number. The second number will be the maximum number, okay? And this comes up fairly often in some of the future lessons. So you want to make sure you have a clear idea how to use this, all right, because it comes up often, all right? And it shows you a couple of, on section 12, it shows you some examples on how that works, okay? All right. You can use a random number as a parameter in drawing commands to make random drawings, okay? The program might generate different drawings each time it runs, okay? Notice here it has an ellipse, random number from 0 to 400, and then there's a 200 here. What they do here is that this random number code only works for the X coordinate. So if you notice here that each time it's run, all right, first run, it shows up over here. Second time you run the program, it shows up right here. Third time, it shows up right here. Okay. Notice that it's in different, you know, one of it will show up on the extreme right-hand side, and another one's on the left-hand side, and another one's on the right-hand side. Comes up with a different one each time. But you'll notice that it's, you know, you can almost draw a straight line here, okay? That's because it's using the X coordinate, all right? So it shows up on a different, you know, it could be on the left or right-hand side, but it's because it's the random number code is used for the X coordinate only. That's why sometimes it shows up here, sometimes it shows up here or here, okay? But not up here, all right? You need to put a random number code for the Y coordinate, okay? Multiple random numbers. Notice how that there's a random number for the X coordinate and for the Y coordinate. Notice how it shows up in, not only could it show up on different spots, you know, on the left-hand side or the right-hand side, it could show up on top, could show up on the bottom, wherever, okay? That's essentially how that works, okay? So I'm going to go to section 9 here, okay? Section 9 is really easy, okay? All you really need to do with section 9, okay, just shows you is that it chooses a random number between minimum and maximum value, okay? If you run if I run this program several times to see how it works, if I hit reset run, notice how that each time I run the program, this orange ellipse shows up in a different, you know, notice how it shows up on the right-hand side here, center here, on the right, center, right. See, it shows up on the left-hand side here. Okay, the random number code is set to 0. For the X coordinate is set from 0 to 400. So right now it's at X coordinate is right about here. And if I run it again, it shows up in a different spot. And right here, it's about 288. Right here, it's at 100. Okay. The reason why is that it's set the minimum number is 0, maximum number is 400. So it's going to be either here, anywhere between here and here. Okay. But it's only going to be for the X coordinate. So if I were to change it from, if I made the random number, if I change it from 0 to 100, if I made the maximum number, if I changed it from 400 to 200, like this, same thing will happen. But however, notice that the random, it's only going to show up from either here to here. Okay. It's going to be in a random spot between here and here. All right. Notice how it's not going to go anywhere outside of it because the random number code is set between 100 and 200. Okay, and that's all you would need to do there on section 9. Section 10. All right, section 10. All right, what you have to do here, you have the same thing, okay? But what you're going to have to do is that you're going to have to add a random number code for the y coordinate, okay? And to do that, you'll notice that if you go on the toolbox, you'll see a bunch of code here for blue color code for drawing, but you're also going to see something that says math. If you click on it, the random number code will pop up, and you just drag it over here and then just play around with it, add different random numbers here for both the x and y coordinate. And then you just reset it a bunch of times. And you'll notice that that yellow ellipse is going to go all over the place. Okay. Then you just play around with that. Section 11, if you get stuck on this one, I won't, this is more of a, kind of more of a challenge one for those that want to, challenge yourself a little bit. All right. If you have trouble with this section, I'm not really going to take off too many points for it. But I do encourage you to try it. Essentially what you have to do, okay, you'll see that this, when you run the program, there's 3 ellipses right here, a red one, an orange one, and a yellow one. Okay. You're going to add 3 more ellipses. One's going to be colored green, one's going to be colored blue, and one's going to be colored purple. Key thing here is that you look at where the x coordinate for the ellipses are for the first 3, and then notice that there's a pattern here. Okay, you just follow the pattern up for the x coordinate. Okay, and just make sure that you put a fill color on top of each of the 3 ellipses that you create. Okay, and you could do the challenge too. You can make the size of some of the circles random as well. All right. So, if you want to challenge yourself a little bit, do section 11 on lesson 4. All right. It's not too hard to do, but if you get stuck on it, let me know. I can help you with it. All right. And that's, once you're done with section 11, you're done with lesson 4. All right. There's a little bit more work involved with lesson 4, but once, if you had an easy time with section 3, with lesson 3, you should have an easy time with lesson 4. And lesson 5 is not too, which we'll do later in the week, is pretty easy as well. So as I said, I will be around during the school days if you have questions. Thank you very much.